Hi, I think I am the smartest human on the planet. And how can I prove this? Well, more than prove, I will tell you my reasoning and why I think that. First of all, we have to define what is smart. Is smart being a mathematical genius? Is smart being a physicist, an inventor, or maybe a great chess player? I don't think that smart can be measured in any skill, because if you would tell me which skill am I better at, I would say that probably spiritism, but definitely not physics, definitely not mathematics, because I don't care about that. So does that mean that if you're smart, you need to be a physicist or somebody that can put a bunch of mathematical formulas on the blackboard? I don't think so. If you look at smart in the dictionary, or if you look it online, you will see some definition like um, somebody that can solve problems real quick, or the ability to learn, somebody that has the ability to learn very quick, and that's called smart. But if you say learning, learning is also getting good grades, and that means that you are learning something in any school, but is that learning really, or is that memorizing? And the question would be, is memorizing learning? So does that mean that if you read a lot of books and you memorize them, that means that you're learning something? What if those books have false information or imprecise information? It's not even learning. So if we consider that learning would be connecting the dots, then that may be a good definition. But for the purpose of this video, we're gonna say that being smart is being better than anyone at a skill that everyone agrees on, that they want or they are interested in it. So what would be the one thing that every human wants? If it's not physics, it's not business, it's not love, it's not any skill in particular. I think that the only thing that humans can agree that we all want is to be happy. So I think it would be more fair to say that a smarter person is a happier person than somebody that can say a bunch of formulas that nobody else understands. In fact, I think that if you're the only one in a room that can understand something, like say those teachers that teach a very complicated subject, and they're the only ones who understand themselves while all the students don't, I don't think that that's the definition of smart. That would be the definition of crazy. I also believe that a smart person would be able to express themselves in simple terms that anybody can understand. So, what makes me smart? Well, first of all, I would like to debunk the people that you think are geniuses and that you would say, hey, you're not smarter than Einstein, you're not smarter than Hawking or Tesla. Let's talk about these geniuses that I just mentioned. Let's start by the father of all yahoos, geniuses. The first would be Albert Einstein. He came up supposedly with a formula that is really no useful if you're not a physicist. But if you look at the story of relativity, Einstein was not the first to propose this concept. There were many before him. But there is one man, I did my research, and there is one man I stumbled, which is named Heisenberg, who came up with that formula, which is Einstein's energy equals mass times the velocity of speed squared. And he came up with this formula 2 years before Einstein. And there were others that were talking about this same concept, which is Henry Poincaré and Rudolf First. Einstein just plagiarized the formula because the original proposer, which I think was Hondelbroek, he died after he submitted this formula to the patent office in which Einstein worked. So it was easy for him to plagiarize it and claim it as his own, as has happened with many inventions throughout history, including the light bulb, the radio, which was invented by Tesla, but supposedly Marconi had it. Alexander Graham Bell did not invent the telephone. There was another man. If you do the research, there was other people. But these so-called geniuses or inventors took hold of the patent and put it to their names historically. I think the smarter you are, the better person you are. Like a dramatic example of humanity, dumb humans are in prison. With some exceptions, I know, but usually dumb humans are in prison. And smart people are helping others raise their emotional frequency or their awareness and things like that. So as a general rule, being smart also means being benevolent. How benevolent was Einstein? He put his name on a letter addressed to the president because at the time he was considered the smartest person in the world. And he put his name on a letter addressing the President of the United States. In this letter, he recommended the president to start basically a nuclear program. He was like an advisor to the president. And he was regarded, remember, as the smartest person on the planet, and he was advisor to President Roosevelt, as it proves in this letter. And he recommends the building of a nuclear weapon with absolute disregard for human life. Is that good or is that evil? Just think about it. I don't think Hitler ever burned people alive. And what did the 2 bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki did? So who was the real monster in World War II? Just think about it. My point is that the geniuses that you've been presented as geniuses are not so smart as you would think. 2 other scientists that, such as Einstein, they tapped into the spiritual realm. However, I don't know if they knew it or not, but they could not understand it accordingly. These 2 other scientists are Stephen Hawking and Nikola Tesla. So this is the simplest model I can come up with to explain the 3rd, 4th, and 5th dimensions, which is important to be able to explain what these men were talking about. Particularly 3 men that I remember, they talked about time as relativity, which Einstein said time is relevant. Hawking said that particles could go from point 1 to point A to point B without or be in both points at the same time. And Nikola Tesla also said that once he had an accident, he went to a place where there was no time. Everything past, present, and future was in the same single moment. This graph here exemplifies everything. Let's start with we humans, that we are 3rd-dimensional beings. Imagine a building or a graphic with 3 axes. We have height, we have width, and we have depth. That makes 3 axes, which is 3rd dimension. The 4th dimension is sometimes portrayed too as a 4th axis, but in this case, For the purpose of understanding, we're going to say that the fourth dimension is like a bubble surrounding the whole third dimension and keeping it together, creating an illusion of time. The Mayas referred to this fourth dimension as the Maya, or the illusion of space and time. Below it, we have the third dimension and we have time. After that, there is no time. So we call this the fifth dimension. In religions, it is also called heaven or nirvana or enlightenment. Curiously enough, these geniuses touched the fifth dimension. When Einstein said that time was relevant, of course it was relevant, because in this realm, time is inexistent. And when Hawking said that a particle could leave point A and get to point B before leaving point A, that was time also being non-existent or very relevant at very small levels, which is at the particle level. And when Nikola Tesla, he got shocked in one of his experiments and he lost consciousness. He went to a part when he said there was no time. Present, future, and past were all at the same time. That's what he said. And so he went to the fifth dimension. You're supposed to go here when you die. That in reality, that doesn't happen to most people for reasons that you may see in other videos. I'm not gonna get into that right now, but this is a simple model of what these geniuses were talking about. So what does this model have to do with them being smart or not? Well, I'm just trying to compare to see how aware these men were. And if we take in account their level of awareness, let's start with Albert Einstein, which I think he was not a genius. If he was a plagiarizer, as some say, then he was a liar. And if he suggested to the president to kill so many people, just because he was regarded as the smartest person on the planet, and he knew he was going to be listened to, if he could suggest to bring so much horror to humanity, do you think he was wise spiritually? Like, karma, nobody's exempt from karma, so I don't think he will be in the fifth dimension right now. I don't want to judge, but he was definitely not smart at the spiritual level. Another one was Stephen Hawking, who said that the brain was like a machine and that once we die, there's gonna be life after that. That was a fairy tale. I think that if Mr. Hawking would have tried ayahuasca, he would have spun right off his chair. He would have understood so much more than he did. So I don't think that he was even though he was tapping into the no time zone, he could not see the fifth dimension and the illusion of space and time. And the real genius among them, which was Nikola Tesla, also I think he was a real genius, and he had a healthy brain because he broke the Maya and he went to the fifth dimension once. And I don't know if he can be attributed the Tunguska incident to his death ray, because if he was involved in that, he used all his genius for a death ray, something so destructive, even more destructive than nuclear bombs. If he was involved in that incident in Siberia in 1908, it's called the Tunguska, let me look it up exactly, it's called Tunguska event. You can look it up, and they don't know what caused it, but it coincides with Tesla's work and his death ray. So I don't know if he was involved in this, But if he was, I don't want to know what his spiritual terms were. Um, I think he was more aware of the spiritual realm than any of the other two. Um, let's hope that he is actually in the fifth dimension. But that is my take on the geniuses that were probably not as genius. But even in the case that one of these or the three of them were smarter than me, I can still say that I am the smartest human in the planet because these people are not in the planet anymore, are they? Okay, so part two will be talking about live geniuses, well, geniuses that are alive right now. So I am Q. Thank you for listening.